Good morning, everyone. Paula Madison Sierra here with another episode of 10 at 10. So to quote my guest and author today, there is no freeway to power. You build the road to power every day. We're going to have a fireside chat about leadership and power with Steve Scheier today on 10 at 10. So, as you guys know, my continued mission statements is to introduce you to my great referral partners where they can share their expertise and tell you a little bit about what they're doing, as well as inspire you with some marketing tips as well. My name is Paula Madison Sierra of Power Marketing SF, and the host of 10 at 10. So today, Steve Scheier, leadership cultivator. I love that title so much. Best-selling author, speaker, and he's going to be sharing on the show today. And so I'm going to slowly bring him in. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Paula.
Good morning. Good morning. There you go. There you go. Let me just get that off of the screen. We're in the middle of crazy technology land today. There we go.
Crazy technology land.
Good morning, Steve.
Good
Thanks
morning,
for being
Paula.
on the show. And so wait. Can I tell you? I got Post-it notes. Okay, I got some questions.
That is a compliment.
And by the way, I am loving all the questions at the end of the chapter. It's like great food for thought. But let's jump right in before we even go to the idea of power and leadership. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Steve. How did you get on this road in the first place? Share with us a little bit.
Well, thank you, Paula. And again, it's great to be here and to be on your show. And thank you for making that opportunity. So power is something that's fascinated me throughout my life. Who has it, who doesn't? And I believe in a world where everyone has the ability to be powerful. And that's what I want to see happen in our lifetime. So I first became interested in writing this book when I started working in cannabis in 2018. But prior to that, I worked in the California legislature. I worked at Apple. I had many different venues where I saw power at work. And my mission in life is to empower people, everyone. I believe everyone has the capacity to use their power. So I define power as the ability, there's a dictionary definition in the book, as you probably have seen, but I think it's very simple. It's the ability to mobilize other people to a cause. And that's how I view power, and I believe that everyone has that ability.
Well, let me throw something at you. Do you think that, is this something that you're born with? Because some of the viewers out there may be listening to it and saying, well, this is not my thing. So is this something that you're naturally born with?
I think we're all born with the ability for self-advocacy. And believe me, everyone struggles with power. I struggle with power. I'm a 68-year-old white guy who lives up in Seattle, Washington. I have lots of advantages. I have some money. I have some insight. I have some intelligence. I, like everyone else on the planet, or most everyone else on the planet, struggle with power. And it's a very normal thing to struggle with, but it's that struggle that makes it really important.
So let me ask you this, because I love the first section in the book, as you broke it down into a few sections. I love the section, power and you. Talk to me about that relationship with power.
Right. It's a curious and sometimes very challenging relationships. As I reveal in the book, my advice from my parents, I thought, was very clear. Don't stand out. Don't stand out. If you stand out, something bad might happen. And we're all brought into this world with our views, our own personalities, our own drives, our own instincts, but we also learn from our environment. What does our family tell us about power? What does our early jobs tell us about power? What do our friends tell us about power? There's a section in the book where I talk about a really traumatic thing that happened to me in high school where I was helping a friend become student body president. And then after he was elected, he turned on me and said, well, Steve, some of us are leaders and some of us are followers. So, yeah,
It starts young, doesn't it?
it does. And so, I have no idea where he is anymore. But my struggle with power has always been there. And I think it's important to start with a belief and understanding that everyone or nearly everyone struggles with power. Even the people who are powerful struggle with power. And so this is a way we make ourselves most human and the way that we bring our best selves to the work that we do in front of us. So yeah, I think that I got into cannabis, which is the sort of the target market for the book, by accident in 2018. And one of the things I saw in my consulting work in the cannabis space is a lot of these people were born in the, not all of them certainly, but a chunk of these people were born in the unregulated market. And they did this work because they wanted to make money, but because in a way they wanted to defy the man. And then they woke up one morning in the regulated market, in the legal market, and realized they were the man or the woman, and they had to make sense of their power. In the unregulated market, you relied on people who were your friends, or at least you thought they were your friends, and you needed to, because if you couldn't trust the people you were working with, you might end up in prison, as several people I know did end up in prison. But in this new world, you have to be clear about your power. So I've seen also other people who run away like runaway nuclear reactors. They're all over the place and they don't have a sense of calm. And then I see people who are underpowered and can't give direction to people, can't engage with people, can't, as I said at the beginning, mobilize people. And so, not to use sort of a trite nuclear reactor analogy, but I will. A nuclear reactor works best, it has to work when it's balanced. And that's what I hope to be able to provide in this book, is a recipe for balanced power. Because you need to know when to assert yourself, when to hold back. You need to know when not to micromanage people. And you need to know when you need to assert yourself.
Yeah. This kind of leads into the idea of the next section, which I thought was like also a really big section, which is power and trust, right?
Right.
Explain to us how those two tie in together.
Well, they're kind of, you would think at first blush, sort of contradictory. When I was, I think, 14 or 15, I read The Prince, the 15th century work by Niccolo Machiavelli. I read it several times. I've always liked Machiavelli, even though the term Machiavellian has a very negative connotation. Machiavelli was just trying to explain how his world in Italy, in Florence, worked during that period. Then there was another book, The 48 Laws of Power, which is a much more recent book.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
I think where I differ from those books, even though I think they're quite valuable, is that I believe that power, particularly in our society today, flows from trust. You can't be powerful unless you're trusted, or at least your power will not be lasting unless you're trusted. Yeah. We can certainly point to people in our recent political history that had power and were not trusted, but I think that's a phenomenon that doesn't have any legs. It's not going to survive. And in our world, in our work world, people want to work for people that they trust. And you gain power and currency by being trusted. And so that's how that works together.
So what I'm hearing is trust is in all our relationships then.
Right.
In order for us to be better friends, you and I have to trust you. Client, business owner, I have to trust you. Wife, husband, friends, kids.
Right.
Trust is a big part of it. And that's how you gain your power, from building a relationship.
Right. And it's building that trust. You pointed one of my mentors, you paraphrased earlier in the conversation, a statement that one of my mentors gave me, which was, you build power over time. And he said to me, you build the path as you go. And that's really true. And where I'm different and where I think this is where society, I think, is, and what I'm trying to speak to, is in Machiavelli, and also to some extent in the 48 Laws of Power, there's an overarching theme, I think, that the ends justify the means, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think that's case. I don't think that's the case. I think that you have to build trust in order to create power, and building trust means doing what you say you're going to do, treating people decently, encouraging them to be powerful. Because one of the big themes of the book is you have to know your power, and you have to build power in the people that work for you. You can't be the only power source.
Yeah. I heard and of course I'm gonna forget which female military leader she was. I think she was one of the first generals.
Uh-huh.
But she made a statement that you manage things, but you lead people.
Right.
And she's like, there's a difference in it. That kind of rolls us into your next section of the book, communication. How do you communicate this to your team, to your relationships in general?
I think communication is absolutely essential, and lots of people think they're communicating when they're really not. People will get up in front of their groups and their teams, and they'll waste their time talking about things that aren't important. Every opportunity to communicate needs to be taken seriously by the person getting up in front of the room. One of the things we talk about in the book rather, is there are no free power passes. You don't get to, there are no small breaches of trust, and there are no free power passes. You have to earn trust and earn power every day. It's sort of like having a stock market ticker next to your head. You're either going up or you're going down. One of the things we talk about in the book is there is no power forever thing that you can do. Every day you're either losing power or gaining power. And you are doing that through your actions. So if you're not communicating effectively, you're losing power. If you're wasting people's time, you're losing power. If you're off message, you're losing power. So people want to be led. I had the privilege of working for a number of years with, I think, one of the great communicators of the 20th century, Steve Jobs. Steve never wasted an opportunity to communicate, and his communications were something that were powerful and to the point, mesmerizing and inspiring. And I see people all too frequently get up in front of their groups and not be organized, not have a message, not engage them, not seek to mobilize the people on their team. And it's a waste of effort.
Yeah, yeah. The funny part is, we're talking about this idea of power and communication. For me, I also picked up a marketing message there as well, because I always tell my clients that it's so important to stay on brand with your communication as well. It's not just your actions, of course, your words, the copy, and of course, the things that you do are going to keep you at that point. I think you made a great backup point that it's nothing's promised. It's not a forever thing. You have to work at it every day,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think too many people think, well, I've gotten that presidency. The common mistake people make is, I'm the leader, I can do what I want. I'm the leader, I can say what I want. I'm the leader, I can take liberties with you. Like, I can tell you that you look really good today, or I could ask for a hug. No, don't do that, and don't do that.
yeah. This is work.
This is work, and it's
Wrong
your work.
environment.
These people are not here for the people on your team are not there for your amusement, and they're not there it's not that they're not there to support you, but there's an inherent power imbalance when I think that I can use my power to get things for me. Rather, it is I who have power, who are trying to create an environment where people who work for me can get stuff done.
Absolutely. What there's a saying that I always say, and it sounds like it's coming up. You may agree with me on this. I don't know. But
Paula, I always agree with you on everything.
I always say, these are not your friends. They
Right.
are specifically there because you hired them. If
Right.
a relationship develops down the road, how fantastic, because you've built a relationship with each other over a long period of time. But they want to know that this is a stable company, you're a stable leader, we're moving forward, and they're going to have a job for a long time in a comfortable environment where they
Right.
can be productive, you know?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Absolutely. In fact, chapter 2 is entitled No, They're Not Your Friends, because I've seen that time and time and time again. And it's understandable given where the industry came from. You had to trust the people that you were doing this illegal effort with.
Yeah.
And so you brought them closer to you by making them in your mind friends and in their mind friends. But they can't be your friends. I do when I managed a big team at Apple. I was for 3 years the leader of the large. I had like 120 people working on my team. I had the great pleasure of managing these folks, and yeah, as time went on, many years later, I became friends with one or two of them. That's not the goal. If that's an extra bonus,
That's
then
our
that's
floor.
then it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's not the goal. I have a duty and a responsibility as a leader to keep them safe. And I can't keep them safe if I'm their friends. I can't do it.
I'm going to go back to something you said earlier when we were discussing power and you and trust. How much of this is learned behavior? I mean, can you unlearn? Because I do hear sometimes folks, well, this is just the way I am. I can't possibly change this. Do you think those hardwired learned behaviors from families and social structures, do you think they can be changed in order to be an effective
Right.
leader?
I'm not a psychologist. I will state that by um, I think you can. I think too often we look at these problems as an on and off switch. Nobody's going to be really um, uh, nobody's going to like go from somebody who's really introverted and can't project to Steve Jobs overnight. It's just about turning up the rheostat a little bit as time goes on. And so it's challenging yourself to do a little bit better. For example, I don't know if I would have felt comfortable doing this show a couple of years ago, but I've been working at it.
Yeah.
And now I find it to be a delightful experience, and that's great. So I don't think we are human beings. We are born with personalities. We've had our life experience. It's probably too daunting for people to think that they need to go from a very, very cloistered, very, silent kind of experience to something much bigger, but you can do it over time. You can do it over time. One of my favorite experiences when I was doing consulting in the nonprofit sector, just a brief little story, is I was working with a CEO who's a really wonderful guy.
Yeah.
He had a conversation with one of his team members, the CFO, and he wanted her to do X and she wanted to do Y, and he was pushing her to do X. And she said to him, Bill, I advocated through the work that we did with them to do this, and I really think this is my decision. And he said, okay. And then he called me up a couple of weeks later, and we had lunch, and he said, two things, Steve, occurred to me. Number one, she was right. We should have done Y, and we did. And number two, she would never have spoken up to me before she started working with you. And that made me feel so happy and joyful, because we all have the capacity in ourselves to be powerful. And she took a risk. She took a risk to tell her CEO that she had advocated for this power and she wanted to keep it. And she knew that he could take it away from her, but he was the kind of guy, he was a really wonderful guy. And he said, no, you did this and you're right. And
Yeah.
I'm going to stand by you.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard surprising things from folks who I thought were very comfortable in their skin. Even things like, as far as power is concerned, making eye contact.
Right.
I find, it's like we're not puppies, we're not wolves. Making eye contact will not cause someone to attack.
Right.
Those are we're more high level intelligent beings than
Right.
all the other beings on the earth. But I find that power, and for me anyway, I love to make eye contact. I love to see the person that I'm listening to, because I feel like I can hear them. But I'm
Right.
realizing, as far as power is concerned, that is an issue in the communication end, that people have with making eye contact, even something as simple as making eye contact.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they've been taught that this is a no-no. It's like, yeah, it's a
Right.
no-no for animals. Don't look directly at a wolf. It will think you're attacking. We are people, different.
Right. And it's a very good example of how people have beliefs in their head about how they should operate. And
Absolutely.
they're unverified. Well, they may be verified beliefs based on a limited set of experiences, but we all have the capacity to be bigger. And I think that that's really my goal and job. I believe that everyone can be a leader. I believe everyone can have power. It may take a person longer to get there. That's all fine. But it really does boil down to what we've learned, what we've experienced, and whether we can challenge those learned experiences and beliefs.
Well, what other hopes do you have for someone reading your book, or someone just trying to step into their power right now? We're hoping that they're going to read the book. Yes, I'm giving him a plug. I'm just throwing it.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you.
You're welcome. But what hopes do you have for someone trying to make this step into power?
Well, I do have a lot of hope. I see a lot of young people who are out in the world trying to assert their power. They're not happy with the status quo in so many different ways. And I think that that is great. And I want to do in my remaining years on the planet all I can do to help people be more powerful. We are incredible beings in the sense of our creativity and our abilities. And there is genius hiding, I think, in all of us. Maybe not Einstein level genius or Steve Jobs level genius or, Malala Yousafzai genius, but there is genius in all of us. And, I want to be able to help people bring that out. So, um, I am optimistic. I really think it's many years ago after I left Apple, um, Steve brought out this Think Different campaign, and I allude to it a few times in the book. I think so much of what we need to do is to think different. We need to think different about and more expansively about the power we can have, and we need to sort of test it out. We need to push ourselves to be more powerful. Because while certainly there are societal structures that are holding us back, there are racial prejudice that is holding us back, there's all sorts of things that are structurally wrong and inefficient and uncaring, and I can go on about certain, aspects of our life. We can work diligently to advance our own needs and interests, and I hope that's what people do. And I hope this book is a small inspiration to that cause.
I love it. I love it. It's like so much food for thought here. Um, how can the audience get in touch with you for more information, or connect to you? I will,
Well,
by the way, guys, be dropping the link to Steve's Facebook page for the book, as well as his LinkedIn, so you can reach him there. But is there anything that you're doing coming up, any talks, or anything like that, or if someone wants some more information or any training? Because you do specifically focus on the cannabis industry, but I really feel that this one is something that resonates with everyone, right? The
it,
idea of
it
power and leadership.
I think it really does. I didn't want for me, it was a market opportunity. I love working in cannabis. I think there's some really interesting creative things going on. And the people I met, the overwhelming majority of people I met have been awesome. They've been great. But yes, Paula, thank you for saying, I think that many people in many different organizations and many walks of life would find interest in the book. So the best way to reach me is steve@stevescheier.com. So that my last name is a little challenging, is S is in Steve, C is in Charlie, H is in Henry, EIER. So steve@stevescheier.com. I'm appearing on another podcast this afternoon, which is really super exciting for me. But we're just getting the book promotion going, and I'm working with a PR team, so there'll be more on that. But yeah,
Where
please.
can they buy the book, by the way?
They
Where
can
can
buy
they
the
find
book
it?
on Amazon. It's Power Up by Steve Scheier and Michael Ashley. And really be grateful for your thoughts and comments. If you read the book and like it, please post a review on Amazon. And that would be how people can get a hold of me.
Fantastic. So guys, thank you so much. As we did start a little bit late, we had some technical hiccups, but again, folks, do not judge. This is a live show. This is what happens. There's bravery in jumping on and just doing it, right? There is no, these videos are not replacement for any kind of professional assistance that you're seeking. So whether it's for leadership coaching or for your marketing efforts, please reach out to either Steve or myself. Like I said, I will drop his information into the link after the show so that you can get in touch with him. And of course, if you are in need of any marketing, please reach out to Power Marketing SF. We can sit down with you for a 30-minute consultation. We here every Thursday at 10 a.m. unless we're having technical difficulties on Facebook Live. Viewers, you continue to amaze me. I really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. Stay strong, keep moving forward. And to close with my usual quote, fight obscurity, please, and stay visible in this time to push yourself or your business forward. Again, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula.
Everyone, have a great rest of the day, everyone. Keep moving forward. Bye.